Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode. This is our second attempt at trying to record this, I think.
Yes.
Yes, because my internet was playing up massively when we first tried to record it, which is also why it's a little bit late.
Yes.
Um,
I think we have tried. We did Crimson Horror twice, but the second time the internet did work.
yes.
And then it was our third go for Journey to Center.
Yes. So internet's
It's been going
holding
well
up
recently.
Yeah. Thankfully, the UK has strong Wi-Fi infrastructure,
Mhm.
as we've clearly seen.
Yes.
But no, we're in person. If you're watching these videos for the first time, this is where we review episodes of Doctor Who. Episodes that we've already seen, episodes that came out quite a while ago, in this case 10 years ago. And when we're reviewing them with fresh eyes, I guess, because most of these we haven't really seen in a while. I think this was kind of like a prime example as well. It's been a while since I've seen this episode.
Yes.
So this week we're talking about Nightmare in Silver. Yay! Episode 13 if you're watching
Wrong.
BBC Outlet, or episode 12 if you're
Right.
looking at IMDb and
literally
anywhere else.
Everywhere else.
Series 7, Clara and the Doctor, and Clara's kids that she babysits for no real reason at this point.
Yeah. Just
join them.
guilt. It's certainly not because of their winning personalities, is it?
No. This sees them go on a day trip to a abandoned theme park, I guess,
Yes.
is what you'd call it. And surprise, surprise, there's some Cybermen there because there was a big cyber war, and the one thing you want to do after destroying an alien race that can upgrade and stay alive for as long as possible is keep some of their bodies, because that won't go wrong.
Yeah.
That's never been wrong.
People are idiots.
Yeah.
Just
yeah.
don't have museums.
Yeah, well, it's not even a museum, though, is it? They use it as a game, a chess game, a cyber chess game.
Yeah. We didn't listen to Terminator in the real world, and now AI is
Yeah.
killing us all. And
Classic.
even in Doctor Who, they just don't listen to reason.
No, definitely not. What did you think of this episode overall?
I really liked it. I always remembered liking it well enough. There is some bias because Cybermen, Eleven and Clara.
Mm-hmm. Warwick Davis.
Warwick Davis, obviously, best
Yeah.
boy.
Mm-hmm.
Good old Porridge. And Tamsin Outhwaite, who played the captain lady.
Of course.
She was good in New Tricks. That's a very British show.
It's
But, you know,
very niche.
it is very niche, but she was very good in that. Although I think that was after this. But it doesn't matter. Anyway, EastEnders star Tamsin Outhwaite, who returned recently, and then
Oh,
it's
classic. If you bring someone back now, they've got to die.
They got to die. It's the
That's
only
how
way
it works.
forward. Yeah.
Sorry, Donna.
Oh, foreshadowing is foreshadowing. But yeah, I always remembered liking it, but I think I enjoyed it more than I expected to.
Yeah.
There's a lot of fun to be had. His whole Matt Smithy into his performance this week.
Yeah.
When performing for the Emmy, he sadly did not get.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I really enjoyed the redesign of the Cybermen and aspects of how they were used. I think some issues I had with it in the past kind of clicked with me this time. Like, okay, that's why they've done that.
Mm-hmm.
That's why this has worked out the way it is. I clearly just wasn't paying attention when I watched this 10 years ago. Fair enough.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I like that kind of the story felt a lot more cohesive to me than I was expecting it to be.
Mm-hmm.
So that's good. It's always a positive. And yeah, I had a really good time with it. It's not perfect. It's not my favourite story of the season. It's not my favourite Cyberman story.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it was a good time. And I'm a Paradigm Dalek defender, but I do think this was probably a better job of redesigning, a new series creature that people are adamant must never ever change, even though that's literally what the Cybermen do.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it was definitely successful in that regard. And yeah, it was just kind of a fun little spacey wacy romp before depression for the next 3 episodes, basically.
Yeah, pretty much, unfortunately. Arguably the next 4 if you include Deep Breath as well, because that's not necessarily cheery either.
Cheery, no.
Yeah, I think this is an underrated one for me. I think a lot of people somewhat unfairly don't necessarily like this episode or don't rate it.
Yeah.
How many of those people have seen it in the past 10 years since first watching it? I don't know. But yeah, for me, it's an underrated one. I had a lot of fun with it. It is quite enjoyable. I've always liked it. I wouldn't say rewatching it has made me gone, oh my god, this is like tears above. But I think I also rated it higher than most did in the first place.
Mhm.
So I think
Yeah.
that although I'm not more impressed now, I'm about as impressed as I thought I would be. If that makes sense.
I think it does suffer from, you know, Neil Gaiman's previous episode being as good as it was.
Yeah.
People were expecting it, like, it has to be that again, otherwise it's a complete failure and 0 out of 10.
Yeah.
Which it obviously isn't.
Yeah, well, that's the world nowadays. If it's not exactly the same, it's
Yeah.
got to be the same but different
Yeah,
and
and
good
If
and better.
if you did love it when it came out, you hate it now. That's also
Yeah.
the rule, apparently.
Yeah. But then the other way around, if you hated it when it came out, you either probably hate it just as much,
Yeah.
or you actually love it.
And you retroactively somehow
Always loved it.
You've always really loved it, and it's always
Yeah.
meant so much to you.
Yeah.
Porridge
sure.
always meant so much to me.
Yes, certainly. He certainly did. Nimrod. What a stupid name.
Oh,
As always with these reviews, we have 3 positives and 3 negatives. I'm still not sure who goes first, so you can go first this time.
thanks.
What's your first positive?
You're going to be stunned. This is where it all went wrong for us.
There was this
When
first
we
time.
recorded, I
You're
gave this
halfway through
really
this one.
long
Yeah.
speech praising you. You're going to be shocked, Matt Smith. And then you just went,
Soz.
no,
Didn't
no.
work. But no,
So-
yes, my first positive is Matt Smith as well.
Hooray!
Yay!
Best boy. I've kind of put in brackets like Mr. Clever, just because like the whole character.
Mhm.
I really enjoyed it.
Mhm.
I like that, you know, the kind of portrayed Mr. Clever as a 9-year-old brat,
Mhm.
because the Cybermen, you know, were established
Morbidly converting
Yes.
children.
using children and their wide imaginations for cyber planners, which I think actually makes some sense.
Mhm.
Sad that they didn't have to just kill the children because the doctor was there, so that's a shame that they didn't die. But never mind. But either way, it you know, it allowed Matt Smith to kind of play 2 different roles in the episode. I think you could tell he was just having a blast, kind of doing something so different, and particularly with like it's a Cyberman thing and it's so kind of emotive and crazy and wild. You know, it's obviously a very kind of different thing. Even though the Cyberplanet wasn't a classic series, it was just a big giant robot thing, and it didn't do anything. So, you know, this is obviously the 250,000 years later. This is kind of what it's evolved into kind of being. So I really like that kind of concept anyway, and it was cool for the new series to bring that back. And I think Matt Smith did a great job with it. He was genuinely, I think, quite intimidating and scary at times, particularly when, you know, he was acting towards Clara, trying to kind of manipulate her. The way it was directed with like him being inside his own head, or the camera kind of just showing one side of his face so you know who is who at any one point, until you're not supposed to really know
It's
along
just
with Clara.
straight on
It's
as
just
well.
straight on. But even then, I think you can tell in Matt's performance, you do kind of know who it is. And I mean, maybe that's because we're rewatching it. So that certainly helps. I think it's one of those things that I think does gain from rewatching it again. You're like, oh, yeah, it's so obviously Mr. Clever, and you may not have known right from the off. Like the fake out with Skaudat not being in the armor in Cold War.
Yes.
I completely
you can
fooled me
notice
when
it.
I first watched it.
Yeah.
Now rewatching the episode, it's so obvious he's not in the suit. It's one of those kind of deals, I think. But yeah, we obviously know I love Matt Smith in 11 anyway. I may have mentioned it once or twice an episode. And I think he was phenomenal here. I think it helps him show, you know, even more of his range. He can be, you know, oddly funny, considering this is, you know, quite a nasty bastard he's playing. But yeah, just the classic why you're hitting yourself routine. It always works. And I think Matt does a great job with the comedy side of things, but also, you know, the iconic that was in like the trailer. Every trailer for Series 7 Part 2 had that, because they just know it hits different.
Classic quote.
Iconic. The trailer for Series 7 Part 2 was genuinely one of my favourite trailers. And yeah, he was just wonderful as always. But particularly this episode, he got something very, very different, you know, to get to do. And I think he really rose to the challenge. And, you know, even if people haven't watched this episode in 10 years, I think people will still very much remember some core memories of Matt's performance in this one. So he was fantastic as ever. But, you know, this episode really did give him something a bit different to do and a different side of 11 to explore. And it's just always fun when the Doctor gets possessed by something and plays the villain. So it was about 42. I certainly have. I did like the Doctor getting possessed in that and the twist with that, how that changes things up. And I like how that kind of played out in this one. And yeah, the whole little chess match between the two of them I thought was a really fun kind of side story for the Doctor to go on, whereas the companion, it felt like the companion was dealing with the actual shit.
Yeah, for sure.
And he was just there vibing with some gold and a chessboard. So certainly not what I would have predicted the Doctor storyline going when I first watched it, but I mean, I appreciate it for that, for doing something very, very different.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough. I think, there's not too much else I can say about Matt Smith. I think, he knows how to play the Doctor at this point, so to have something that's still fresh, I think, from his point of view, I think is good and is what keeps these actors around in these roles for so long, is because there's always something new that they can do.
Yeah.
And I think this one's slightly different as well, because it's not the Doctor like subtly being angry with someone. It's him trying to trick everyone else into thinking, oh, everything's fine, don't worry about it, and try and play up that like fool side of the Doctor that people always seem to associate with Matt Smith. And I think it does it very well, especially when he's in front of kids and he doesn't know like how to behave, and sort of he tries to comfort them in his even when they're possessed, he's not being as maybe downtrodden as he should be in that situation. But yeah, I think it's fair enough. I think people that maybe don't rate the performance of Matt Smith and miss the cleverness one, I think is sort of missing the point a little bit in terms of that this is a thing that has inhabited the Doctor and has his sort of his views and thoughts, but then also has that element of he's been learning from kids for a while and has been dormant for a while. So there's going to be an element of unhingedness about it.
Yeah, because you mentioned seeing a tweet recently that was like, they said it was cringe, a nice cringe thing. He's playing a 9-year-old kid. Of course it's cringe.
Yeah.
You're cringe now saying shit like that, and I bet you're not 9 years old. So take a good look at yourself, buddy.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to agree with things like that. I think people, again, it's going to the whole thing about social media, and the whole thing is that people will pick one thing and be like, oh, isn't this, and then everyone will either agree or disagree.
Yeah,
and it creates discourse.
I don't like this era, so I'm going to say something bad about this era instead of just hyping up the eras I do like.
Yeah, and that's some of the problems. Yeah. But anywho, so what's your second positive then? Because mine's also Matt Smith's.
My second is the setting.
Okay, that's one of my additionals. Yeah.
Yeah, I think, why have they not set it at like a big space theme park sooner? Budget probably. Certainly, but the classic series and stuff. I'd like to see them try and.
We had the Leisure Hive. Come on.
Oh God, yeah. Exactly. There you go. That's why I didn't do it for so long. Can't have that again. Can't do that again. Jesus
Can't
Christ.
have him with all his little body parts falling off.
We love our fans too much to do the Leisure Hive again. I forgot. Woo! They should have done that as a reference in this one. In his mind when he's talking to Mr. Clever, he just goes woo and explodes. Watch the Leisure Hive, or at least a cliffhanger to one of the episodes if you want to understand that reference.
God, terrible.
What a story! What a season! But anyway, I really love the idea of this theme park in the far future. And the fact that it seems very true to life that core elements would remain, like a castle themed part of a park, and the big ass roller coasters and stuff.
Even like a moon landing bit.
Just pushing like an anti-gravity thing. I think we would stick to our traditions in that sense and carry on that through line for like amusement parks, because when they work, they work. Unless you put Cybermen in them, obviously. But yeah, I thought that was a really cool kind of setting. Just to put anything, but also I think the Cybermen in that setting is like a very kind of mismatched thing, but it does work. Particularly, I guess, when this is the debut of a new redesign, you can kind of maybe fit it so it does sync up properly with like the whole far futuresque thing they're going for. And you do still get like the classic Cyberman design from 2006.
Yeah,
playing
and
chess.
It kind of also makes sense for them for why they would have these dead Cybermen there to be like automated things in an amusement park, like in a museum. It kind of makes sense that they'd be there, and it's a sort of perfect sense, similar to Van Statten's museum when it shuts ahead. It's like that concept taken to the extreme, where what if it was an actual Cyberman that was in the museum that came alive. And it works well for this location.
And I'm sure we'll talk about the kids, but it is, I guess, a good catalyst having them in the episode to go to a location like this, which they may not necessarily have thought of otherwise. So that's something good to say about the kids, isn't it, friends? And I'm sure that's the last thing we'll say. But I really like just the whole kind of location. I thought like the set design and everything, thought it was really cool. Just Clara and the others just fighting off this Cyberman in like the castle set. I think it's really fun, and I just like all the visuals for it. It's almost a shame that we don't get even more time to spend in that world, or they go back there or go to a different amusement park. Hopefully that'll be something for the future. It's been 10 years, you can do it again now. It's fine.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, I think it's a really cool setting. It seems like a perfect one for Doctor Who to kind of explore like a futuristic theme park, and I'm glad they tackled it.
Yeah, all the best sci-fi shows do theme park episodes. You know, Doctor Who, Primeval. They go to
course.
Thorpe Park in one of theirs and deal with a saber-toothed tiger.
Of course they do.
You know, that's it. Those are the only two
That's
good
it.
sci-fi shows. There's none others.
Oh no,
Um,
Trekkies, no.
yeah, I agree with the location. You know, I think the only criticism is that I would have had to have done a bit more like world building for it. We get a lot of world building around like the cyber war and stuff.
It's a shame that everything's dead.
Yeah, it's like, look, here's the dead theme park. Now we're
We're
back
surrounded
inside.
by all the planets we blew up to
Yeah.
kill the Cybermen. Like, hooray!
Yeah, so you could easily do one that's set. You know, you could, as a reference, you could have it be the same place, but have it set 300 years before that or whatever, where it's thriving and have another monster be there, something like that. Which, you know, they could do easy, and that's the kind of thing that works quite well in like a book or audio form because they don't have to.
They don't have the
budget.
restrictions. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a similar story in with the 10th Doctrine and Sontarans where it's basically this big, I think, this big new shopping centre that obviously wouldn't work very well in a physical location because it'd be hard to make and create that, especially with budgets as they are. So my second positive is the new Cybermen design.
That's my third.
Oh, there we go.
So that's nice.
I quite like them. I know they get a lot of criticism for being Iron Man-esque.
Can't believe that they look like this super popular superhero. What a weird choice.
I know, it's terrible. But, you know, all Cybermen have had that same design. Just people only think it's
Yeah,
Iron
take
Man
a look at the
because
classic
it's-
series designs. They were
Yeah.
Iron Man before Iron Man
Well,
was a
yeah,
thing.
it's just because these ones are sort of not thinner, but more buff.
They're
if
not
that
the
makes sense.
2006 designs.
Well,
so
yeah,
people
there's
didn't
that,
like
and
them.
they've got the sort of lit up blue thing. But you know, I still like them. I think they look very modern. They look. It makes sense with the story as well if they've been upgrading so much and so quickly that they have to adapt to everything.
Yeah.
It makes sense that they have some kind of. Considering at this point we know the human race is like something that just lives on and adapts.
Mhm.
It makes sense for them to sort of almost look at that and be like, right, we need to be more like this, and therefore we need to look like that, and we need to do this and do that.
Yeah.
So it makes sense. They look great. They look pretty threatening when they zoom, when they do the one thing where they zoom the one time.
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
Yeah, I think that's good. I like that, and I like the way that's shot.
Mhm.
You know, and I like the references to the old Cybermen as well. And it makes sense for the natural conversion for them.
Yeah.
And yeah, they look pretty menacing. You know, I would not want to. I think they have more of a non-human vibe about them than the 2006 ones.
Yeah, they definitely, because you know traditionally the Cybermen weren't humans. They were like converted aliens. So I think they definitely leaned more into that. And maybe there's a reason for that. We'll find out later.
They're more cyber than man.
Yes.
I think, which I appreciate. You know, they still have the cyber, you know, necessities about them.
Yeah.
But
With technology obviously advancing the way it is, like 250,000 years in the future when this is set, it makes sense.
yeah,
I
if you
they
think
would
about, you know, the
look like
2006, the 2006 Cybermen are contemporary. They're supposed to be. Oh, I could see that existing in mid 2000s stuff. I could see where that progressed from, and it makes sense that these be more futuristic flying spacemen than. Even though they don't fly, but you know that kind of more, more mold than that, and I think it would have been strange. I mean, it's strange in the fact that they still have 2006 Cybermen in the museum, but you can kind of look past that because they're just a catalyst. They're just supposed to be museum pieces anyway. And I mean, having the Cyber's design in our world doesn't necessarily make sense anyway because they're from a parallel universe, and they shouldn't really be there and you shouldn't have design. That's why some of them they don't.
And Moffat did want them redesigned in Series 5 for the Pandora, but they didn't have the budget to redesign them.
No.
So they just took the C off and made it a blank.
Even though there's a C one in this one, so you know what it's fine. I
Fell out
guess.
the void, didn't it?
Yeah, well, that's the argument, isn't it? You can just say that about anything. That's what happened with the next Doctor. They fell out the void, didn't they? So
Maybe Neil Gaiman took some inspiration from that.
it wouldn't surprise me.
Guess
It's
we'll
a
find
good
out.
episode. Have you got anything else to say on the Cybermen then?
I just love the Cybermen. I just think they're neat.
Yeah.
I really like them as well. I like how streamlined they are. Smooth as a baby's bottom. And they would be after all this kind of adaptation stuff. I love my Cybermen smooth as a baby's bottom. And yeah, just like the addition to the lore, like the Cybermites, I think it makes sense.
Yeah.
You know, we're obsessed with technology getting smaller and smaller. Phones, you can fold phones in half nowadays, for God's sake. So, cyber mats just becoming like cyber mites, I think is a cool kind of elevation of that concept. Being able to convert more than just human flesh, these Cybermen can. So just back to the classic series, basically. But I like that because it adds threat to the Doctor as well, and obviously it allows the whole cyberplan thing to take hold. So I like that, and it's not just like they can suddenly do that now, but because it is 250,000 years in the future, they are able to do that. And then I think maybe just for this particular story that they can adapt to any of their attacks, just because I think it works because it's this far in the future. We can talk about the other side of the coin in a minute. But that makes them really threatening as well, and I do like that. These Cybermen in Doomsday, the Daleks would be fucked. So I do appreciate a bit of redemption for them in that, I guess.
They're more of a threat now.
Because it just makes sense because it's that far in the future. So I really liked all the new kind of additions to the lore, and the redesign I think does work, and I'm glad it genuinely did stick around for the rest of this era. All the Capaldi stories featured these Cybermen heavily, so I was very happy to see them carry on because I did really like them. And in the classic series, the Cybermen change appearance basically every single time they're in it. So it was nice. And at this point, it's been 7 years of the older ones. I think they're mature change, and I'm glad they did it, and I think it works really well.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with changing monsters.
Yeah, you change Doctors all the time. Why can't you change Cybermen?
Yeah, even when they got to make new faces, like the Ood faces, it's fine. They're allowed to change.
Yeah.
Why not?
After all, why not?
Doesn't make a difference. My final positive is just the guest stars. I was pleasantly surprised by Warwick Davis.
So was I.
Watkins.
I take back what I said. I
Same.
Warwick Davis was fine.
I thought he wasn't good, but he was pretty good.
It's almost as if 2013 Ian was just a bit of an arsehole.
It's almost like you should rewatch things before you comment on them.
No way. We did this with the George actor in Night Terror. We
did this with that.
Roasted him, and then he was actually really good.
But I think they're both good. I thought Jason Watkins was gone. I can't remember him being in a lot of the rest of the episode. He
just kind of stands there.
Because I thought before rewatching it, I was like, oh, he gets killed straight away. And then when he got killed, I was like, oh, whoops. And then he came back. I was like, oh. And I really liked did I write down the line? Delights, delicacies, and death. I thought he delivered that very well.
Yeah.
And I like that. I think he just dies, doesn't he, in the end? Do we get a resolution for him?
I don't know if we do.
Okay. Well, I mean, he's on. If he didn't go up to the ship, he was on the planet, so.
Oh yeah, he's definitely dead. He was dead when he got converted.
Yeah, because he had a proper eye thing, like a tortured man.
Yeah, I really like the design of that. I thought that was cool. And him just being like, shh, and the girl screaming.
Yeah, I think he did a great job with what he had. Again, he's a pretty big actor to sort of just have in a bit part.
But was he 10 years ago?
Yeah, I would have said so. 10 years ago, I think he'd already been in Nativity at this point.
Oh yes, popular franchise Nativity.
Yeah, exactly. And then Warwick Davis as well. I like it. I like going back as well. And now that he's the Emperor,
you see it's so obvious, guys.
Yeah, God.
The statue looks just like him, even though it really fucking doesn't.
No, it didn't. And the coin you can maybe argue because we don't really see the coin.
Yeah.
But how he's like testing the commander lady and being like, oh, so you need to follow her orders then, and making sure she's doing what she says, and she knows that it's him.
Yeah.
And I like that sort of. You only really see that properly once he's who he should be. It all makes sense. Otherwise, before that, you're like,
I like that they don't spoon feed you like why she doesn't. She clearly isn't a fan of having this guy.
Yeah, and I like it. I think he's great with that. I like his proposal at the end where he's like, oh, I guess I should find a wife, and then propose.
Will you marry me?
And then he's just straight away like,
marry me?
Well, how about you? Will you marry me? No.
I love the Doctor's reaction to that in the background as well. And he's just there, mate. Well, if you want my advice, and then when she says no, and he's like, nice.
But I really like the guest stars in this. We'll come on to the army as a whole, because I've got some criticisms about them. But one of the other people in that was also in Skins, and was recently in the Barbie movie. The ginger one.
Oh, really?
He was in. Oh God, I can't remember his name in Skins, but he was in Skins, and he was in the Barbie movie recently. He was.
That's cool.
He was one of the office workers that try and stop.
Oh, okay, makes sense.
Sex education boy from going up the top.
Yeah.
that's it for my positives. The only other one for me was just a location. I really liked it.
Mhm.
Is there anything from you?
I like the idea of the punishment platoon.
Uh-huh.
Just as a concept, I think that's really funny. That like you guys, oh shit, you just go there and be shit,
Yeah.
and that's why they just suck so hard against the Cybermen because they're all shit and untrained.
I don't know why you just wouldn't kick them out of the army, but you know.
Yeah, just kill them. I mean, yeah, kick them out of the army. But yeah, I just thought that as a concept, I thought was very funny. That's very Neil Gaiman kind of idea. And yeah, it sets them up for failure, and obviously that's kind of makes it fun because I like seeing Cybermen kill people.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought that was a really fun little idea, just kind of to throw in there.
Now, unfortunately, we must talk about the negatives of the episode.
Oh.
Which I've got, a few, but nothing like too major.
Uh-huh.
What's your first one?
Angie.
Okay, yeah. I put kids bracket Angie.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't mind Artie really. No. He's not really there. He's just there. He's not scared. I just need to turn on the light.
I'm good at chess. Immediately being at chess.
Literally fucks up in his second move. Yeah, you're great at chess, aren't you? Oh Jesus. So yeah, kids being kids and all that. It was very interesting. So he was harmless. You know, I honestly didn't have a problem with him really. No. You know, it's just a classic like I'm alone in the room, so I have to talk out loud, which doesn't do any favors to his character. No. But that's a TV thing, isn't it? But Angie, fucking hell, I can't stand her. What an awful character. And they don't learn their lesson with bloody Courtney in Series 8 either.
No, it's the same person. Basically.
So yeah, she's just so bratty, and you know, I know kids suck, and I know this is probably how she would act, but it doesn't mean she needs to act like it. Aren't they?
You know, you don't have to include those characters in it.
No, just have nice kids in it. It's fine. You can do that.
Yeah. We've seen that before, you know. We have seen nice kids.
She's there with all like the anti-graphic. It's okay. Like just like something. She's one of those classic people that thinks disliking obviously good things is a personality trait.
Yeah.
And it's just so horrendous. And her iconic line. Like, put me down, I hate you. Why would you say that to him? Just kidnap you, stupid woman.
I've got that written down. Put me down, I hate you.
That was
it's also awful. It's pretty bad ADR as well because she clearly says it not on set, so.
And just everything about her whole presence, she's just irritating. Obviously, it's no fault of the actress.
No,
it does come down to it just being an annoying, bratty kid.
I mean, technically, she does great to deliver the performance of being a terrible person.
She's a fantastic actress because I couldn't stand her.
But yeah, the character itself is it's written and
I just wish it was just one kid. You know, I wish it was just someone like Artie rather than because they're both immediately taken out of the action anyway, probably because they know they're annoying as fuck. So yeah, all she does is moan, all she does is whinge, and then it doesn't feel like it's earned at the end. And she's like, "I'm sorry, I called your box stupid." Like, hey, I couldn't even remember when you said that. And you're
not in the episode.
What have you gone to? Like, if anything, I would hate him even more after what you just went through.
Yeah.
You could have very nearly been converted. And your little brother. So I just don't think her arc really made any sense either. It's just because the episode's over that she's like, I'm fine now. I'm a nice kid now.
We'll never see him again.
Forever changed. No, they're in the
next one, aren't they?
Yeah. But then we never see them again. Thank God. So yeah, she's just, she's sassy. But in a bad way. Not in a good way like a lot of the companions are sassy. Sassy can be funny. But she thinks she's so cool.
Yeah.
And she really isn't. And I know so many people that age think they're the coolest fucking person in the world.
Yeah.
And I walk past so many kids going in and out of work who are like just think they're the coolest fucking thing. And like one day you're gonna look back on these moments and think, God, I'm so stupid and dumb. And that's Angie.
Yeah.
So, I'd say I hope we see her again so we can see the other race.
Maybe.
But no, I don't want to see her again. I want a Target novelization explaining why she's such a brat. And then maybe I can understand it.
Her mum that's dead was a serial killer. So
or she's a serial killer. That's why she's so horrible. I get, losing your mum that young is going to mess you up.
Yeah.
But kids are just like that anyway.
But Archie did the same and he's fine.
Yeah.
So.
And he's kind of harmless. So why Angie? Why? They didn't. I don't think they even needed that kind of character in it either. It's not like there's a classic general kind of character who disagrees with the Doctor just because there has to be conflict in the story.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to be a character like that anyway because we have the Captain Lady and stuff like that. So there's just no reason for more than one kid to be there.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, she's just written to be so annoying as well for some reason.
Yeah, and that's sort of my main point is more, rather than necessarily her personality, it's just I think both the kids are really unnecessary to the story.
Yeah.
Because they're in there for a bit, then they get half converted, and then they're not really, they have no purpose in the story.
Yeah, especially because the cyber planet is like, oh, well, we've got you now anyway, you're better than the kids, so we don't even need them. Oh,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah, and so, I mean, you know, we've mentioned, yeah, great, it's good they could maybe have them to get to the location, but you could still have the Doctor be like, oh yeah, I know this is like the best theme park in the universe. Oh whoops, it's all destroyed, and then that should be it, you know.
Or be like, let's have a look around and see if this is somewhere we can take the kids.
Well, yeah, something like that, but
just they don't have to be.
Yeah, I don't think you need it, but obviously they were in the cliffhanger last episode, so I think whether the cliffhanger hamstrung the episode or the episode hamstrung the cliffhanger, I'm not sure. I'm not sure which way around it would have been.
I feel like, I mean, it was so out of tone and place, I think, in Crimson Horror. It was definitely, this was always the plan for this episode, and like, sorry Mark, you have to do this now.
Yeah, maybe, but yeah, I just think they're just not needed. They don't really have a point to the story except for the Doctor trying to save them, but the Doctor would have tried to stop the Cybermen anyway, so I don't think there's a necessity to have them in there. If you want to have the vague worry, have Clara be taken, and then, you know, have the Doctor try and save Clara from it.
Yeah.
And then just, you can keep the punishment platoon fighting off as they would be, and have Warwick Davis still be like, no, don't destroy the planet, Soz. Because it's not like you take Clara out of that equation and they do much differently to what they were anyway.
No.
But yeah, I just think that more than their personality, especially for Artie, who I think is harmless in this and arguably pretty wholesome.
Yeah.
I just don't think they necessarily need to be in it. They're just, you know, you could just put more effort into some of the other characters, some of the side characters if you wanted to, make them more likable. But is what it is.
Them's the bricks.
Yeah. As Boris Johnson said as he resigned.
Yes.
Your second negative.
My second one. Cybermen please nerf. Is what I put.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
I think this particular story, I feel like they do too many new things.
Yes.
I mean, personally, the hand popping up I find stupid and ridiculous. The head turning around 360 I find stupid and ridiculous. So, you know, I get that wanting to be bold and all of that. And yeah, they have super speed. One uses it once and that's it.
Yeah.
Why are you not just doing? This could be over so quickly. Why is that not happening? So I think they make them so overpowered at the start. It's like, why are they not just always doing this? Just explain,
you should be
like,
dead straight away.
Yeah, like Plague of the Cybermen, they explain like they're running out of energy. They need to preserve it, so they can't just use other weapons straight away. Which is a book I just read, by the way, for context. So just a line like that in there would have been.
Yeah, because they are better. Like a hidden ship, aren't they, as well? It's not like they're whatever. But then I guess that line kind of undoes itself when it zooms out and there's like millions of Cybermen on the planet.
Yeah, and I do feel like it's kind of writing themselves into a corner a bit. Like, if you then brought these Cybermen back again, what new things could you do with them? They're just going to constantly upgrade. And obviously they fix that by never going this far with the Cybermen again.
No, and it's because they immediately upgrade as well. It's not like they have to go away and be like, how am I going to do this? It's just like, oh, that hit me.
Because it's not even like one has to die for them to upgrade now. Because when it steps into the electric water, it's like, oh, I'm fine now. And then the rest of them are just fine.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I get it's in their nature to keep upgrading and stuff, but maybe it's a bit too fast for these Cybermen. It makes sense because it's this far advanced Cybermen.
Yeah.
And I do think in the context of this story it works. But then it just poses, I guess, some of the questions about, you know, how much further can you take the Cybermen now? Have we seen their peak? Obviously not, because we're enough in time still to come. But at the time, you could be asking these questions.
Yeah.
And it does mean, like, later on in the story, like, why are they not going super speed now? Why are they not doing this? Why are they not doing that?
Yeah, that's the issue.
So it's kind of a shame, you know. And I do like most of the new stuff they did with them in this, but it does have its downsides too.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough. My second negative is the actual sort of punishment platoon itself. Similar with the kids, I also don't think they necessarily need to be in here.
No,
because you remove them, what really changes?
They're just a body count.
Nothing. Yeah, they're just there for Cybermen to do, which is fine.
Yeah.
But the planet exploding weapon they had is rendered useless anyway. So that's their only real thing that they had going for them.
Yeah.
Is that they can't really stop the Cybermen. They stop maybe like 3, 4. So you could it might have been better just to have maybe a handful of people and have them like run away through this theme park, and then you could then explore more of the theme park rather than just hold up in one place. You could be like, oh, go on the ride, go on the haunted house, do loads of different things, similar to a chase, a hide and seek, similar to in the Timeless Children, where they're like hiding in the cyber suits and hiding from them, because you don't always just have to have the big fight and big, oh, I'm gonna shoot you kind of chase with the Cybermen. You can just run away from them. But then you also need to show, and it would, well, I mean, if you remove the army, it removes the whole, oh, they have to keep upgrading themselves because they're not faced with worse challenges, and then it kind of adds a threat as well if they're...
Yeah, that was the thing as well. I think that's what makes Cybermen seem like super OP, even if they're not necessarily as OP as you might think, just because their enemy is so shit anyway. They're just a punishment platoon.
Yeah, and I think if you remove them and just have a handful, you could keep maybe 3 of the characters and just say they were a family that got marooned there, and if you want to bring kids into it as well, you could then have them there. Something that's a bit more, because I think I'd rather have the episode be the Doctor trying to save this family and Clara from the Cybermen than the Doctor trying to save the 2 kids and this useless army. You can still keep Warwick Davis there. He can still be in like hiding or whatever, because he's still how you defeat them in the end. He's still whatever. But I don't think you necessarily need to have the army there, because if the Emperor is, I know they used the bomb to call in his ships to blow up, but you could just have him have a link to them and be like, yeah, I've always got an emergency one in case I want to go back.
Yeah,
we're gonna beam up and then they'll shoot or whatever. But they're fine. I don't mind them. They are really there for the body count. They are there to be killed by Cybermen.
They're there to be ordered around by Clara.
Yeah, and again that adds it. Again, it more adds into Clara's.
This is one of the things that clicked with me actually. It's just like, why is she just being this whole other person? Why is she not just being herself or anything about? But this kind of stems to like, you can see it splinter off into her governess thing now. Like, and her putting on that role. Like, so it kind of, you do see elements of that in the original Clara. So it's like, that makes sense.
And you can see it as part of the arc into how she eventually dies and becomes more like the Doctor. This is also where it spawns off, because she has to in this one, and it's what she's done in what episode was it we were speaking about it before? I can't remember. Maybe it was
I think it was Cold War.
Cold War, where she has it.
She's like desperate for his praise.
Yeah, and you can see the threads of her hubris in the end, sort of coming through in here, which I also like. So we'll see how much of that continues, because in my memory it's always just a flip. So we'll see if it slowly keeps building, or if now it just goes from this to whatever. But
probably the next major thing is probably Flatline, when she literally just takes on the underdog role.
Exactly. But that's Series 8. That's a little while yet.
That's quite a long way yet.
But yeah. So what's your final negative?
My final negative, I think Porridge is written a bit flip-floppy.
Okay.
I mean, the Emperor reveal, it's nice, but again, like, that mannequin looks nothing like him. What are you talking about? So I don't know if that exactly works. And obviously, if it was a spitting image, then it's like, well,
it's too obvious.
That's him.
But I guess you can kind of compare it to a Madame Two Swords, a ship Madame Two Swords.
Yeah.
Because this is a ship museum. You can compare it to like, oh, that doesn't actually look like him.
Yeah, that is what it is. And then him being like, oh, I feel like a monster for letting all those people die.
It feels bad for the person that gave the order, wasn't it?
Being the one who lives on and the man who gave the order, I feel so bad for him. And then he's like, when the captain dies and he goes back to grab the thing, he's like, you should have blown up this planet when you had the chance, you stupid woman. Like, you were telling her not to do it.
Told her not to.
And then at the end he's like, oh yeah, by the way, I can just say this, and boom. Like, could you not have done that before the very last fucking second, Porridge?
Yeah.
Like, it's either go back or you're going to die.
Yeah.
So it's like, you could have avoided a whole lot of trouble here, and probably a whole lot of more deaths that you apparently feel so bloody bad about. So I feel like it's a bit of, there's not quite the cohesiveness, I think, to his character.
Yeah.
Still, I think that does still remain. Most of the other kind of messiness I felt the story had previously, I think, was fixed with this rewatch. But I think that kind of thing does still remain. I just don't. I think maybe another draft really focusing in on his character and his motivations, I think, was probably required. Because I don't know if the ending with him kind of really hit as it could have done, just because I'm like, I don't really, apparently he knows what he wants, but the audience haven't really seen that. I think if any character needs maybe a bit more rewriting, it was probably Porridge. But I will, I have taken back. I do think Warwick Davis was pretty solid.
Yeah. So. And I mean, if you remove the kids or the army, you can give a bit more.
There's time for that, And if there's a target novelization,
guaranteed there'll be a prologue where the Emperor
is a serial killer.
Well, he pretty
Well,
much
he
is,
is
isn't he?
actually,
So yeah, you know.
Yeah.
Um,
And I did like, that line about the man who first treated.
Oh, yeah.
I like the foreshadowing about the Doctor and the Time War
Yes.
stuff, which is obviously going to be a big part in 2 episodes' time. So I like that.
and
as well.
regeneration as well, because they
And
talk about
regeneration.
him. I can
Yeah.
regenerate and whatever.
But you can't, can you, Matt? Because you don't have any regenerations left, you cheeky one.
No.
Imagine if it had called his bluff and he's like, oh shit, I actually can't.
Whoopsie.
Well, guess you'll die.
Whoopsie daisy.
Well, I guess he'd just shoot himself and then he'd just die.
I mean, yeah, but then I guess it could then just convert its whole body.
Maybe.
I
Oh,
don't
yeah.
know.
Gross.
Dunno.
Don't do that.
My final negative is kind of a nitpicky. I'm just not sold on the too tight dress is too tight line. At
I
the
don't
end.
like that line either. Especially because 20 minutes ago he's like, no, I don't find you attractive. You're
Yeah.
so funny, you're too short and bossy.
Yeah, that end scene kind of just feels more like it doesn't look similar to the last of it. It doesn't totally fit with
Yeah.
the rest of it.
Just these last few episodes with Matt Smith, they just inject these weird little character moments. And like, even when he kisses Tasha Lem in Time with the Doctor.
Yeah.
Where did that come from? I know they do have their flirtation at the start.
To be fair, he did that with Jenny.
And Jenny in the
so
last one, yeah. So
he has form now for
he
that.
has
It doesn't
form,
make sense.
and it came out of nowhere,
Yeah.
and they stick with it for some reason.
Yeah.
Very strange.
Yeah.
And this is definitely one of those moments.
It's especially because again it focuses on, maybe it's again because it's coming up to the finale. It's like, oh, don't forget she's a mystery. Oh,
It really did feel like, what can we have him say
Yeah.
here?
to lead into the finale.
Like, what can he say about this very attractive woman here?
Yeah.
Oh yes, let's just say how attractive
Yeah.
she is, even though
How much
he,
of a mystery?
he himself
An
said
attractive
he wasn't.
mystery. Ooh.
Yes.
Yeah, because even
Yeah.
like the last episode, like, well, even Journey to the TARDIS, he's like, okay, get
Yeah,
to normal,
and
then
it's even worse. It's like the last line of the episode.
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah.
come on,
oh, yeah, it's a nitpick.
you're doing
It's-
so well.
It is a nitpick, but you know, it's just a line that I
It's
don't
another
think needs to be
outface,
there.
man.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Especially-
they already talked about the Impossible Girl thing before when the Cyber Planner was taunting her, so they didn't need to address it again.
No.
We know.
No. I mean, you could just leave it with the wet, but yeah, I guess you just kind of need something to end the episode and be like, okay, yay.
Yeah. You
But-
find out next week.
Yeah, but what can you do?
Hmm.
The only additional negative I had was just sort of a bit of a dodgy CGI with the big cyber army.
Yes, that was my additional one as well. That looked really bad.
All of it's fine, and then when it's got the one and it zooms out, I'm like, ooh,
Yeah.
those are bad.
Yeah, I did think that. Why did you have put that?
You
many
don't
in
need
there?
that many. You
Don't
don't
zoom
need-
out that far.
They've clearly only got 5 costumes. I went,
Yeah, you know, like
Christ.
Doctor Who Avengers magazine, it's kind of those shitty plastic figures. Everywhere.
Yeah,
It just looked like an army of
yeah,
those.
it's not.
I wouldn't be
it's not.
surprised if that's all it was
It's not
because the
great.
budget ran out.
But just don't do it. You
Just
don't
don't
need
show
to
it.
have that many Cybermen on there either.
Yeah.
You could just have
The shots
like
of them
10
waking up in
Cybermen.
the ship was fine. Like, we can see there's loads of them.
Yeah, but
So there you go.
never mind. Have you got any fun facts?
I do have some fun facts for you. And I just closed my notes and I forgot about my fun facts. There you go. Let's have a look. So, the working title for this episode was The Last Cyberman, as revealed when a read-through copy of the script was left in the back of a taxi in Cardiff and found by a woman named Hannah Durham. After posting a picture of the front of the script, Hannah returned the script to the BBC without leaking anything further. I'm sure she absolutely read it.
She
but
definitely read it,
but she didn't
kept
leak
it to
anything.
herself.
I would have lost my shit if I found a script and it was a
Could you imagine?
Cyberman one.
Could you
I'd be
imagine?
like,
Yeah.
oh my god.
I know.
So yeah, you are bolder than me, Hannah. I would not have given that back. Hand on heart.
Well, that's it. I might not have leaked it, but I'd have kept it.
Yeah. Oh
you
yeah.
know?
I wouldn't have leaked it, but I definitely would have kept it. Yeah. Why not state in this episode? I've already talked about this. Neil Gaiman has said the events took place 250,000 years in the future. The ending shot, featuring a lone Cybermite floating through space, was a reference to the end of the Tomb of the Cybermen, where a single Cybermite is seen escaping the tomb before it is sealed forever. The Cybermen awakening and exiting their tombs and walking towards the camera in 3 rows mirrors the cliffhanger to Earthshock Part 3, Adric's favourite story. Porridge operating a cyber exoskeleton to play chess is a homage to The Turk from the novel The Adventuress of Henrietta Street, a machine that played chess taking the form and mind of a human. The Turk was also the inspiration for the clockwork droids in The Girl in the Fireplace.
Oh,
So there you go. Yeah, it all links together.
More
Doctor
you
Who
know.
reuses his concepts all the
Yeah.
time. This is the 11th time an actor playing the Doctor has played 2 characters in the same
The
story.
11th time you say.
Yes, I have. I have listed all them in our Almost People one, and I couldn't bother to write all that again. So
Fair
just go and check that one out
Yeah.
and then add this one to the end.
Yep.
Matt Smith has done it twice now, obviously, because gang.
Dang it, the gangers.
Cybermen's ability to adapt to attacks comes from the Borg in Star Trek, who were themselves inspired by the Cybermen, and the two team up in the Doctor Who Star Trek crossover.
Yeah.
Webley's half-converted face is reminiscent of the Borg's design, so they just copy each other basically. But the Borg are iconic, to be fair to them. The episode used a camera technique called bullet time to showcase the fast movement of the Cybermen, popularised by the Matrix franchise. And I'm glad they kept using it. The Cyber Planner makes his first appearance in the Revival series, having previously appeared in Second Doctor stories The Wheel in Space and The Invasion. It is not its first appearance in new series media, however, as it featured in the video game The Eternity Clock the year before.
Of course.
Renowned fan favourite game The Eternity Clock, which I did not play because I think it was only on PS3. I didn't have one. But never mind.
You didn't miss much.
I don't think I missed out. I played the adventure games instead. The Cybermen's weakness to gold was previously shown in Revenge of the Cybermen, Earthshock and Silver Nemesis, and their weakness to cleaning fluid shown in the Moonbase. Neil Gaiman announced his return to Doctor Who at the Hugo Awards, accepting an award for the Doctor's wife. In his acceptance speech, he stated, "Only a fool or madman would try again, which is why I'm on my third draft now." What a man. What a man. And then finally, the production team decided to evoke the constantly evolving Cyberman design change from the classic series and redesign them for this episode. As the classic series portrayed them as alien cyborgs and the new series portrayed them as cyborg humans from a parallel universe, Gaiman theorised his Cybermen were an amalgamation of the two, following an encounter after the events of the next Doctor. So they met in the void and had some babies.
Yeah.
And when a Cyberman and another Cyberman from a different universe love each other very much,
They make Iron Man.
they make Iron Men. Cyber Iron Men.
Cybermen.
Cyan Men, if you will. So there you go. Fun facts.
Nice. Well, the one thing left to do this week. Out of 10, what are you
Both
giving?
my notes
What are you
again.
giving the episode?
I'm torn.
You
That's
all out of
fine,
place.
I'm torn. Can't give it. I feel like our discussions made me like it even more.
Interesting. Type my notes.
That's
in
okay,
case you see
yeah.
mine. Maybe mine's not too much. Do you want me to tell you mine?
No, it's not my absolute. I'll go 7.5.
Nice. Mine's a 7.
Okay.
So we're pretty close on that one. That's it for now. Next week is The Name of the Doctor, which is the Series 7 finale and part 1 of, I guess,
Of the Doctor
a
trilogy.
3-part, arguably a quadrilogy if we include Night of the Doctor in that.
Yes.
But this is probably the real kick-off for the 50th celebrations. The kick-off for the end of Matt Smith's regeneration story. I'd probably class all these as a regeneration story, if I'm being
Yeah, I can see that.
to, because you can see, this is kind of the end of. He realizes it's the end, and it's all about its death, and then etc.
Yeah.
What do you remember of Name of the Doctor?
I'm just gonna say it.
I
think
don't care that you broke her
I don't care that you regenerated it. No, I very much do. I think this is my favourite finale
Okay, yeah.
we've had.
That's fair enough.
It's iconic.
Does it help this one episode, not 2-part?
Quite possibly, so it has less time to go wrong. And I guess it does have its second and third part in a way. If we are
Yes,
talking.
yeah.
And, it does help that it's one of the parts is the 50th anniversary, so I guess it does help that.
Mm-hmm.
And, at the time, this was a game-changing cliffhanger with John Hurt at the
100%.
end. And now it's like, that's nothing compared to what they've done
Nothing.
since. At the time, that was so controversial, adding a new Doctor. I can't believe they've ruined Doctor Who doing this. Even I was like, I don't know if I like that.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, Dinah's children, yeah!
Yes,
All
more,
the Doctors!
more.
I want 2,000 Doctors!
Yeah.
That was definitely one of those you really had to be there moments. Watching that live was, my God, that was a ride. And obviously the reveal of the mystery of Clara and how that's solved is my favourite resolution to the story arc ever. I really, really love that idea. I think it's really cool. Obviously having the Paternoster gang back again, they're always fun. Richard E. Grant actually has some justice done to him, I think, in this one. The Whispermen, creepy fuckers.
Yeah.
Some great stuff with River Song coming back as well. So obviously we haven't seen her since Angel Take Manhattan. And this is her penultimate appearance in the show.
Yeah, I mean, River Song's the one that I'm not set on yet. I don't know if
You just hate women.
Yeah, she can be in it, but I just don't like how they bring her in it.
Okay.
I think it doesn't make sense for her to be like, because obviously, spoilers, she's in
It's post-library.
she's in the library,
She's
she's
been
in the
saved.
computer. So
Yeah.
I'm like, how does that work? It's probably just to get out so they can keep using her if they want to in the future.
Yeah.
But I don't like how that works and how they, I don't just have her there, just have it be set
Yeah, definitely.
before. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a reason why you can't do that, but
Yeah. There's simply no
that's
sense.
the only thing I'm to be sold on. I
Yeah.
think, but everything else I really like about it.
So yeah, I am looking forward to that because obviously it's the last time we see Eleven and River on screen together.
And
There's
11 in the Paternoster
12
as
next
well.
time. Yeah, that's true. So the end of many eras.
Mm.
But again, I think Matt Smith's fantastic in this episode.
Yeah.
Jenna Coleman's fantastic in it.
Mhm.
My jaw was on the floor in the opening, with like revealing it was on Gallifrey and seeing all the different Claras and all the different Doctors. Like, holy shit, they're really doing this for the 50th.
Yeah.
I don't expect the visuals to hold up in that sequence at all. But it's one of those moments where I really don't care.
Don't think they held up when it first came out.
That's also
now.
fair and valid. But I really don't care when it's a story moment like that. It's kind of insane.
Yeah.
So yeah, how that all gets kind of paid off and sets up the 50th anniversary.
Yeah.
You know, when that cliffhanger ended and we still had like 6 months, I think it was, to wait. What are we going to do for 6 months? What I was going to do was meet you in person for the first time and go to Doctor Experience.
Certainly was, yes.
So I remember they just had in the queue. All it was the John Hurt scene, like again and again, waiting to go in.
Yeah.
So that was 10 years ago. Damn, son. 10 years ago we were still waiting for the 50th, and now we're waiting for the 60th. Old
60th.
and withered, but still talking about Doctor Who non-stop. But yeah, I love this episode.
Crippled but alive.
Crippled but alive.
Yeah.
My favourite Doctor Who quote, genuinely. And yeah, I'm really excited to revisit it. I actually do watch this episode quite a lot.
Yes.
So I'm pretty sure I still like
this
it.
whole trilogy I've seen a lot more than most of the rest of it.
It's bittersweet because I've enjoyed praising Matt Smith non-stop every single week.
Now we're going to be praising Peter Capaldi.
But now we're going to be praising Peter Capaldi every week, and then we're praising Jodie Whittaker every week.
Yeah.
And then praising David Tennant again for a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Then praising Ncuti Gatwa again.
And
for hopefully a couple of years.
And then Chris Marshall.
And Chris Marshall is finally his time. Yeah, they'll cancel his Death and Paradise spin-off, and then it's like, right, I'm free for Doctor Who at last.
Finally.
But yeah, I'm very, very excited to check this one out. I love this episode.
Yeah, I am excited. That should be next week. Barring anything happening, we should be okay for next week. It just depends what day it will be on. Depends on how the Wi-Fi's done.
Also true.
But yeah, that's the plan. We will see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.